Hey everybody, it's Michelle. I am here to talk to you about our Patreon page. This is the page that you can go to help support our podcast with a monthly donation. When you commit to supporting us, you can get additional bonus content such as extra podcasts, our favorite playlists, our show notes, and eventually we would like to have merchandise to sell like t-shirts and baseball caps, and we would let you have first dibs at those. Of course, because we are coffee moms, we are offering membership levels that are as follows: the coffee membership, the cold brew membership, or the espresso membership. Now, no pressure whatsoever, but if you do love our podcast and you would like to help support it, you can go to patreon.com/messybunmamaspodcast. That is Patreon, patreon.com/messybunmamaspodcast. There you can choose a membership level that works for you. Melissa and I want to thank you in advance for your love and your support.
Messy Bun Mamas. I'm Joe. I'm John. I am Malcolm. Wow.
Hello.
Hey everybody!
Welcome to episode 16.
Woo! Number 16!
I feel like you're regretting committing to that woohoo.
No, not yet. I had some coffee this morning, so I had a soda and a coffee.
So she's like, woohoo! I'm Melissa.
I'm Michelle.
And this is the Messy Bun Mamas podcast. We are going to be talking about chores today.
Yes.
And whether or not we are pro or con chores.
Yep. I know we talked about a month ago maybe about, do we pay our kids to do stuff that we expect that they should already be doing?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it will be fun to now discuss like the actual chores and expectations.
For sure. But first, Mama moment of the week.
Mama moments.
Okay, let's hear yours.
Well, mine's not real long this time, weirdly enough, but I'll make it long by just chattering about stuff. But Joe lately has been into asking me things like as you've seen, as he's come in several times today just to like check in on me. I love you, Mom. I love you, Mom.
Mommy.
So he's just really been checking in on me.
Which he just did.
So like every 2 minutes, it's really insane. But we were taking the dogs out the other night, and he's very big about coming down with me. If he's up with me later in the evening, he does not like to stay up in the living room by himself, which is fair because like we don't have a lot of city lights, so it's darker and the dogs bark and it's all scary. But so he walks downstairs with me, and the other day as we were walking down the steps, he said, "Slow down, Mommy. Just wait." I said, "Okay. I really just want to let the dogs out, Joe. We're not going to make this a thing." And he goes, "But Mommy, take my hand. Don't you want to be my best friend?"
Oh my gosh.
Yes, I do. I want you to stay with me forever because, and even though I like find it annoying sometimes in the moment of like his constant on top of me and constant checking in on me, there's a little part of me that is just like, somebody loves me this much.
Yeah, that maternal smushiness.
Yeah.
That makes you want more babies.
Yeah.
Yep.
At least 5, right? I can do 5.
Whenever Dan's like, "Are you sure? Like, really? Don't you remember?" You're like, "But you don't understand.
He wants to be my best friend.
He wants to be my best friend all of the time."
All the time. Nobody else wants to be that best friend. So that was my mama moment. How about your mama moment?
So my mama moment is this week. Well, last weekend was actually one of the boys' really good friends. It was his birthday. And I didn't tell him all day long because the friend was actually out of town. So I knew, like, obviously we're not going to be able to see him. So right before bedtime, I was like, okay, guys, you know, it's so-and-so's birthday. Let's, record a video for him and we can send it to him so he feels special. And they were like, okay, well then John, so we record them singing happy birthday and send it over and whatever. Well, then John proceeds to have a meltdown because his friend is not going to know how much he loves him because he's not there with him on his birthday.
Oh.
And he's going to think that he forgot about him and that he doesn't think he's special. So he, like, immediately had to take Malcolm and they had to immediately make him a card. And he's just, like, sitting there, like, crying, just like, but he's gonna think that he's not my friend. He's gonna think I don't care about him.
He's so thoughtful.
And I was just, like, sitting there annoyed. But also, I was just like, man, I have made such this sweet, sensitive kid. And he is, like, his teacher will say, like, John will come in to class in the morning and the night before he will have at home, like, made pictures or little stuff for his friends, and he'll come in the morning and walk around to people's desks and, like, put things on their desk. And then he'll go to his desk. And it's like he's been doing that forever. And it's just like he's such a sensitive kid. It just warmed my heart.
Yes.
It just made me swishy.
Makes you feel like, hey, I'm doing a good job too, right?
Yeah, like, for sure. Not only am I doing a good job, but I mean, I don't know how we got that way because Mike and I are not. So you beat the impossible there, buddy. You're not a cynical douchebag.
That's like my overly social Joe with his not so social parents. Like, how did this happen?
It's true. How does that happen? I don't understand. And the thing is like, I'm really thoughtful and, like, sensitive, but, like, I feel like I'm doing my good deed by, like, sending somebody a message on their birthday if that's not on their Facebook wall that just says happy birthday.
Right.
Like, when it's my birthday and I have, like, 113 people have said happy birthday to you today, I'm like, thanks, random human I haven't spoken to in 10 years. Like, but I don't know.
Right.
So.
But that's a nice mama moment.
Yeah, I was excited about it. It made me happy, so.
Yeah.
All right, so we will get into our topic about chores after this short break. Hi, this is Melissa from the Messy Bun Mamas podcast, and I want to talk to you today about Anchor. This app, let me be real honest, is basically lifesaver. I got the random idea, on a Tuesday that I wanted to try and hit up my mom friends and try and get a podcast going, and Anchor has made it so smooth. I downloaded this app, at 7 a.m. on a Saturday, got my plug and play microphone, and we were able to go in, record. We had a high quality recording, and it turned out great. And I didn't have to take any of the tutorials or anything like that. So if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's a safe and easy way to make a podcast. It's also free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. And Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and so many more platforms. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership, which is amazing. So I don't have to feel like a failure if nobody listens to me talk. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. For example, we just recorded our first episode and I was already able to go in and remove something really stupid that I said. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. All right, so let's get into our topic.
Yeah, so I'm somewhat excited to talk about this because, as I mentioned earlier, we did talk about paying should we pay kids to do what we feel they should already be doing?
Yeah.
So just randomly the other day, we have a dog that has diabetes and she's sick, and she will go through these phases where she will pee like every hour or something. And
Oh, that's rough.
Right. It makes it hard because then like if we're not home, or like when we get up in the morning, there's pee there. So we have out our little Swiffer mop.
Yeah.
Just out right now. I mean, normally we don't have it out, and I can't tell you that our floors have been mopped as much as they have been in the last couple of weeks, but we just had it out. Well, the other day, Joe picked it up. He figured out how to put the little wet mop things on there and like tuck them into the thing. And I'm like, I really like this. And so just all day he would take and he would put in a new one, and he would randomly mop an area in the living room.
And you're just sitting there like, you do you, buddy.
Right.
You do you.
And so I snapped a picture because at one point he stopped to watch TV, but he sat down in his little recliner chair that he has, and he's just kind of got like his arm braced around the mop. And so I just snapped a picture and I simply said, he's been pushing this around all day. I'm not mad about it. I'm actually kind of hoping he makes it to the bathroom before bedtime.
So just trying to be funny.
Right. And so,
but also truthful. That would be amazing.
Right. And before I tell you the reply that somebody gave, I want to say that I always welcome anybody's opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But this was such a strong one that I was just like, oh, wow, I kind of feel attacked right now. But there was someone that replied, and they said, excuse me, my kids are adults today, but growing up, they never had regular chores, and neither did I. Chores aren't a child's responsibility. Play is. Reading through comments on a chore chart page, I could not but wonder, are people crazy? Why exactly must a 2-year-old sort recycling, for example? Why is it so difficult to wash a dish, sort laundry, vacuum, wash a car, that one needs to be taught these things repeatedly through childhood? Why do we need to have a 10-year-old acting like a mini independent adult? In Peter Gray's book, Free to Learn, he says that there are tribal cultures in the world that do not expect their children to do much of anything. The kids are allowed to be kids without responsibility like the adults because they will one day have that responsibility anyway. The kids play like they are doing the jobs of the adults in the tribe. Through that play, they learn and perfect things. And when the time comes that they start contributing, they are happy to be moving on and having responsibilities, and they know what they are doing. I think it's lovely. Stop trying to make kids into that which they are not. And so I'll respond. I'll tell you what my response was later after we have our discussion.
Oh, you responded?
I did respond, yes. And like I said, I try to be neutral so that people know that their opinions are welcome, and it's definitely welcome, because one thing that I do enjoy is I love learning what other people think and why, because it helps me then have a broader understanding of other people when I come into contact with them. Like, if now that I have this information under my belt, I can investigate, I can learn, and the next time somebody comes to me and maybe I'm sitting down and having a conversation in a broad group, then I would have a better understanding of what they're saying, and I'll be educated on how I can respond.
See, I feel like there's definitely a difference between somebody making like a sarcastic or a snide comment and what that person that person did. And honestly, I'm more willing to like interact with people who do give me a sarcastic or a snide comment, because I feel like sometimes they're even more open to have a conversation. I feel like,
yes,
I feel like
where
that
this is closed-minded.
Yeah, that it's just like, well, you obviously already think you're right.
Right. And the reason
you're giving broad intellectuals, you're giving broad statements that sound intellectual, but are they really? And I mean, I just feel like it's totally in your league. I don't like comments like that on my stuff.
So it just kind of led me to think about, and I'm probably going to do some more research, just because I have taken classes in college about other cultures, and I kind of disagree with what he says that this book is about, or that the author says are facts. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I've studied some other cultures while educating myself, and I don't think all of that is true. But it just kind of made me interested in what other parents would think as well. Because for me, I mean, we call them chores, but really it's just helping. It's helping your family. I mean, because you've seen Joe's playroom, right? It's basically a bedroom with a whole lot of toys for one kid. If we did not, at this point, he's 4.5, going to be 5. If we did not make him pick up his playroom, I mean, it would be a total disaster all the time. And I would be the one left to clean it up, or his dad to clean it up and organize it. So I just think that there are personally some chores and things that are necessary for kids to do. I mean, I'm sure we can go into a whole lot of discussion about this, and I didn't even bother to look. I know this is like the second time I've said this. I didn't even bother to look up like research on this, because I know that there are broad, for the most part, good research is going to show that that's how kids learn, is you have them doing stuff. And so I think that there's just a negative context to the word chores. And so what do you think, Melissa? You tell me, and then like near the end, I'll tell you what I replied.
So, because I am, okay, so I'll give you a for instance. So, for instance, John is on spring break this week.
Mm-hmm.
About 2 months ago, I cleaned the boys' room.
Okay.
When we put up the bunk beds. And then about 3 weeks to a month ago, Mike cleaned their room again.
Mm-hmm.
Because once we cleaned their room and put up their bunk beds, we set a boundary of like, you can't bring food in there, you can't bring drinks in there, blah, blah, blah. Well, they were struggling with it a little bit, but it had gotten a ton better. So Mike cleaned it up a couple weeks ago. And then on Wednesday of this week, boys woke up, they ate breakfast, and I said, all right, guys, you know what you're doing today? John goes, laying on the couch watching TV. I'm like, nope, no, you're not. You're going up to your room, you're going to clean it. And he's like, I don't want to. I'm like, well, that's fine with me. You're going to stay in your room until it's clean. You can come out to go to the bathroom, and that is it.
Right.
And they cleaned it. I mean, it took like 4 hours. It would have taken me 15 minutes.
Right.
I mean, it really wasn't that bad. It's just like their Lego table, like they had dumped a lot of their Legos on the ground and whatever. And I started, so, you know, I forced them to clean their room. I would call that a chore. I have started, when the laundry is done and folded, I have a basket for Malcolm and a basket for John, and I call them in when I'm done folding it. And I say, here's your basket, go put it in your drawer.
Right.
And they carry the basket upstairs and they put them away in their drawer. Again, a chore.
Right.
Or I guess what I would call a chore.
Right.
But you know what? John actually responds really well to this sort of thing, like a very specific task.
Structure.
Yeah. So he doesn't respond well if I'm just like, we need to clean up.
Right.
if I tell him, go in your room and clean up all the Legos and throw all the garbage away, he does fantastic with that. If I give him his laundry to go put in his drawer, he knows the top drawer is underwear and socks, the second drawer is shirts, and the bottom drawer is pants and whatever. So he knows, and he's perfectly fine and capable to put all of his clothes away. But we can call them whatever we would like. We can call them chores. We can call them tasks. We can call them responsibilities. But to be real honest about it, I don't really care what you call them. I am not raising some degenerate future husbands who are not going to do their part and take care of their home when they grow up.
A play all day.
Like, no.
Right.
And even if you work, you still need to be contributing to your household when you're a grown-up.
Right.
And when you're a kid, even if you have school, you still need to contribute to your household as a kid. Because let me tell you, I work all day. I still have to do things around the house. And the thing is like, I'm not expecting them to get on the ground and scrub the grout with a toothbrush.
Right.
Although I think they would love doing that. I'm not going to lie.
Joe would too.
I really think that they would. But I'm not requiring them to do that. I'm requiring them to do like things that I deem are appropriate for their age. Like, our garbage day is Tuesdays. So when John is done with school on Tuesdays, he's got to go down and drag the bins up. And he's been doing that for 2 years. So since he was 5.
Yep.
I mean, why is that a problem? I mean,
and that's just bringing it back after it's been emptied.
Yes,
right?
after it's been emptied.
He's not even pushing the heavy
stuff.
Okay.
No, he's bringing it back after it's been emptied. And sometimes there's 2 cans, sometimes there's 3 cans. And one of his responsibilities with that task is, if he doesn't want to make 2 trips, he needs to ask someone to help him.
Okay.
Which, because sometimes he'll just whine. He's like, there's 3 down there. That's like 3 trips, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, I mean, you know what you got to do if you don't want to make 3 trips.
Right.
And usually he'll go up to his dad and be like, Daddy, can you help me? Or his sister will help him sometimes too. But, I mean,
that's super. I'm gonna pause because I think that's super amazing. Not only are you teaching him about responsibilities and things that he needs to do, but you're also teaching him how to ask for help instead of just whining about it or saying I can't do it and giving up and not doing it. You're teaching him you've got
to ask for help.
You're gonna do the job when you just ask for help.
But yeah, that is one of the nice things about him doing that task is I'm trying to raise humans that are contributing to society.
Right. Well, I don't know. The response is almost kind of conflicting too. And it really conflicts against what I said. Maybe I just wasn't real clear in what I said because I was like, oh,
because you were being funny and cute.
He's been pushing this around all day, but it kind of turns into this, they shouldn't be made to do chores, but they do that stuff through play and learning. Okay, so I've been just letting the kid play mopping the floor. I mean, I didn't tell him he had to do it. I didn't direct him where to do it. I mean, it was random spots in the living room. But so I guess, but that is really kind of one of my things too, is like, if all he does is play all day long, then what do I become? And what does he become?
I'm sure whoever this is a man, right?
Yeah. Per the handle, the Instagram handle, and the way he talks, he if you look at his bio, he says he's a dad and a grandpa. So
okay, so I would say that his partner that helped him raise his children probably would have a completely different mentality about what took place.
And if she doesn't, God bless you.
Because I'm sure she's probably just sitting back like, okay, Norman.
Right. Well, like my husband's house growing up though, and this is why my husband and I have a really hard time about what a clean house looks like.
Yeah.
My husband's house was spick and span. Now, they did have, quote, chores to do. Like his chore was to empty out the trashes in the bathroom into the kitchen
Once a week.
Once a week, yeah. And so, I mean, they had like some chores, but otherwise.
Is that the only chore that he had?
That's the only one he talks about because he says, I hated it because he had 3 sisters. So he's like, so there were all their stinky pads and it smelled so terrible.
Yeah, but I feel like if that's the only chore he had to do, what did he think? Like fairies came in at night and cleaned the house?
And cleaned the rest of No, and he's totally under the belief that his mom just kept the house spick and span. And to be fair, you can walk into their house and their house is like always clean, like spotless. I mean, spotless. And I'm just like, no, I can't live that way. I personally cannot live that way. I have way more going to my life than just doing cleaning all day.
Yeah.
I cannot make that my mindset. I mean, even now, my sister-in-law, her youngest child is going to be graduating this year, and she's like, Michelle, I've lived my life for these kids for the last 20 years. And she says, and now they're both going to be gone out of the house. She says, I don't know who I am anymore. And I struggle super hard because I'm like, I don't want that to be me. I still want to have an identity. Even I'm not just a wife. I'm not just a housewife. I'm not just a mom. I'm Michelle O'Brien. So, and I don't want to raise Joe with the belief and the understanding that that's all, that's your responsibility as a wife is you cook, you clean. If you do work, you go to your job, then you come home and you do those jobs. And I'm going to go do my job and come home and do outside work if there's any to do. And if not, I'm going to kick back and watch the 5 o'clock news. I'm like, no, we're not. This is not how we play this game in my household. So,
that's funny that you say that because in my house growing up, I feel like my mom and me were expected to take care of everything inside the doors. And everything outside the doors was my dad or my brother's responsibility. Supposedly. But the thing is like, I don't understand the universe where that makes sense, I guess.
Right.
I mean, I just, I don't know. And then like, I don't know.
I know this is like morphing into something else, but I think it kind of all falls under that same category of
roles of the sexes. Like I know we're trying to tiptoe around it and whatever, but like that's truly what it comes down to is like roles of different genders.
Right.
And the thing is as much as we would like to sit here and be like everybody's equal, blah 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 blah, I really don't think that that's the mentality of what it comes down to. And let me be real honest with you. So Mike was upset with the room cleaning that I said was clean. He's like, that room's not clean. And I'm just like, I mean, they picked up most of the stuff. Like they didn't clean under their bed.
Right.
They didn't
vacuum or
they
dust.
Didn't vacuum. They didn't dust. I mean, they brought down all their dirty clothes.
I can walk from the door to their bed without tripping on something.
Yes. The entire floor was clean. It was just like in the corners or like there was like piles of a couple things or whatever. So he's like, I wouldn't have counted that as clean. And I'm just like, what did you want them to do? He's like, well, their room should have been like this, and this. And he's like, I'm sure Nana went to count that as clean. I looked at him. I'm like, I never remember my mom locking my brothers in their room until they cleaned it.
Right.
Either she cleaned it when they were little or it never got cleaned.
Right.
Like those are the only two drastic differences that are in my mind.
I'm meeting you halfway on this.
So like I'm sorry that I am not giving them some outrageous expectation when they're 7 and 3. Like I think the fact that they were in their room for most of the day with minimal arguments and came out and completed their task, I would say good job.
And you know what? The funny thing is that while they were cleaning, and the reason why it took 4 hours is because they were playing while they cleaned.
Sure.
So, I guess that's kind of my thing about this whole post is just you can make cleaning fun. I mean, not every time do I want to take 2. I mean, I would never in my life want to be like, let's take all day to mop this house and whatever
horrible
segment that you want to do. But to be honest, once we have our dog free, I will be much better about keeping our floors mopped, but I do not put a whole lot of effort into like mopping our floors.
Well, no, if you have a pet, an animal with like, it's like, why would you buy new furniture when your kids are babies?
Right.
That is like 100, like our couch, we have a board in our couch. It's a hot mess. It's stained and whatever. And I have relatives and friends who are just like, are you going to buy a new couch? And I'm just like, why?
Right.
Why would I buy a new couch?
Right.
I have a 7-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. That sounds like an awful idea.
Right. Because then I'll have to buy another one
in 3 years.
Right.
No.
So no, it's just, I mean, to me, if he wants to pick up a mop and mop around, I'm not going to tell him no. I mean, when he was younger, I would, just because, the little spray thing got sprayed everywhere on the Swiffer. Yeah. So I would be like, but now, like, he's older, I can say, hey, or actually, if he wanted to do it when he was younger, I took out the bottle of stuff. But now at this point, I'm like, I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is because we talk about gender.
Yeah.
And there are age appropriate chores, tasks,
whatever you would like to call them.
Whatever you want to talk
well,
about.
I guess them. Another one of our chores that we have the kids do is we have a mirror that's like 8 by 5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's giant. Okay, and our bathroom counter is that long as well. They Windex this giant mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they stand on the countertop and they spray, like John sprays and Malcolm wipes. Like, let me tell you, they ask to do this.
Right, because they get to
stand on the countertop and have like free reign to spray this water bottle all over the mirror.
Right.
Like, I mean, is it a quote unquote chore? Yeah. But I mean, am I asking them to vacuum the steps? No. Do I have them vacuum? Absolutely. Because you know what? When we're vacuuming, like, there are times that we vacuum and we'll vacuum the same room for an hour. It doesn't need an hour, but like, we'll take turns. John will vacuum for 20 minutes, then Malcolm will vacuum for 20 minutes, then I actually have to vacuum.
I understand.
But I mean, it's these things that are gonna raise these kids to be like grown-ups that take care of their house. I'm totally on board with you with the play thing. Like, we are not drill sergeants, and even if we were, like, I mean,
yeah, I don't understand what concept that some people have. And I guess this is where I would want to be, if you're listening to this and you understand what he is saying or agree with him. I want to understand why it is that someone thinks that we're, I don't know, I was kind of made to feel like he's
a bad mom
of abusing my child.
Yeah.
And so I want to understand why that goes that way, and why, if I make a simple comment like, he's been mopping all day, I'm not mad about this, why it would trigger someone into like this whole
spiel of ridiculousness
of that. I would truly like to understand the other side of this, or why some people would think that, because I think a large majority of people teach their kids some type of responsibility
to pick up after themselves.
And quite honestly, at a young age, you start teaching them this stuff through play. I mean, when Joe was 1.5, 2, as soon as he could walk, it was race mommy to pick up your toys. I mean,
yeah.
What's he doing? He's picking up his toys, but it's a game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I totally get the learning through play thing, but the idea that it has to be that they're just playing only.
I mean,
I don't know.
I mean, even with John, like, he's at the age where he needs to be clipping his own fingernails after every shower. He should be looking at his nails and clipping his own nails. Well, to make that fun for him, I got him a fingernail clipper with a flashlight.
Oh, okay.
It's one of those baby ones, but
sure.
I mean, he doesn't know.
Whatever.
He just knows it has a flashlight and it's cool and whatever.
I find those baby ones are sharper anyway.
I totally agree. For sure. So that's, but to him, like, he loves clipping his nails because he gets to play with the flashlight clipper.
Right.
I mean,
you're teaching him a responsibility of taking care of himself, right?
But it's really, he thinks he's playing.
He's playing, right.
So, I mean, it falls under almost exactly what he said in his comment of, like, I don't understand. Because,
right.
like, they are playing when they're doing it. Like, it's not like,
most parents will find a way to incorporate play into that type of thing. Now, if I just say to Joe, help mommy dust the living room.
Yeah.
No. Okay. You're going to spray all the spots that you want mommy to dust.
Yeah.
And there he is. He's off spraying away.
Yeah.
So
it's not like it's, Orphan Annie and they're sitting there singing It's a Hard Knock Life for us as they're mopping the floors on their hands and knees. With a bucket.
In the workhouse. That's my new thing. I had to actually be like, I heard it in a series that I was watching the other day. And like, so I looked up what workhouses were just to make sure it wasn't inappropriate.
Like it's actually a brothel.
So now my thing is, my house is a workhouse. I make my kid do chores. So yeah, I mean, just, I don't know. It is interesting, and that they had that perspective. But I'll tell you how I responded, because I do like to be diplomatic, but also I can't just let something go. I said, I appreciate your input. While the photo was just for fun, I will clarify that he was not made to clean the floor. I had left the broom and floor cleaner out. He chose to pick them up and mop around the house. While I do agree that chores should not be miserable, I do believe that helping around the house should be fun and doable. It doesn't have to be a chore, but instead it is a time for us to be together, play, have fun, and clean the house. My son is never made to feel put out by doing something. I understand if you disagree. To have a difference of opinion is a beautiful thing. And so...
Oh my gosh. You were so much nicer than I would have been.
Trust me, there was the...
How many times did you delete things before you posted it?
There was the devil Michelle sitting on my right shoulder whispering, and he was a whole lot louder than the angel Michelle.
And still, that's what you got. That's some inner strength.
And so, just because I do try to be diplomatic, and like I said, I do try to understand other people's viewpoints, but I also didn't want to leave it as I don't think this is abuse to teach your kids responsibility. No. Really, the last part of his comment was that they should learn this stuff through play. And I don't know very many adults that don't teach their kids responsibilities through play.
Yeah.
It's almost a natural thing. So I guess that's kind of where I am with this. I mean, I'm whether it's child abuse or not,
Oh my
I'm going to
gosh.
continue to. I mean, I've started teaching Joe that when he wakes up in the morning before he comes and gets me, he has to turn off the humidifier in his room and open up the curtains.
Yeah.
And I mean, is it a chore? No. But is it a nice thing that he can do for himself? Absolutely. Who doesn't like a little bit of sunshine in their room? And so I mean, I'm going to continue to do those things with him. Now, if it's something terrible like my mom, I say this is terrible, but we willingly did it. My mom did paper routes when we were younger, and we helped. We helped fold them, we helped deliver them, and she paid us for that. But that was something that we did above and beyond our regular household responsibilities. If you live in a house, I feel like you have a responsibility to help maintain that house.
For sure.
Whether you're 2, 3, 5, 7, man or woman, we all have a responsibility to take care of that house.
And I don't think that people are wrong in saying like kids should be allowed to play. I do think it's really ironic though, because the amount of homework these kids are sent home with from school every night,
it's ridiculous, the amount of schoolwork.
I would love to know what they're doing in school all day, because let me tell you, I mean, I'm not talking about like 20 minutes. I'm talking about like 2 hours for one. So if they get home at like 4 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock, 2 hours, then like you got to do dinner. They're going to want to play. Like, I don't understand why somebody would have the mentality of like, oh, they need to be kids, blah, 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 blah. But we're totally fine with them going home with hours of homework at night.
Right.
Like, let me tell you, not all kids are going to be academics.
Right.
But all kids are going to have to learn how to do their laundry.
Exactly.
So I'm going to say no. Thank you, sir, but no.
Right. So, I mean, as I said, if you disagree with us, I would really love to hear your opinion, and I will for sure give you a diplomatic response.
Yeah. I might not.
Melissa may not. But I would definitely love to learn more of this side of the opinion of people. So
here's my thing. If you're gonna tell me that I'm basically a bad parent, like we can pretend that's not what they're saying. That's definitely what they're saying. If you're gonna tell me I'm a bad parent and make yourself sound smart in the process, I mean, fine, but we're not gonna agree.
Right.
And I'm sorry if you think that it's okay to disagree with somebody. It's not okay to jump on somebody's status and tell them they're a bad parent.
And basically shame.
I'm not on board for the mom shaming.
Right.
It's just, and that's not like, I don't feel like that person was disagreeing with you.
Okay.
They were definitely shaming you.
Okay.
So like me, I would have been like, get off my status. You are not welcome here. That's how you can tell who responds to you on Instagram. Right. If it's me or Michelle. The nicer one is Michelle. But no, I mean, so for example, we were somewhere the other day, and a friend of mine like lets her kids drink out of her Starbucks cup. She's been doing this forever, and her kids, I mean, they have a very strict bedtime, you know, they have a bedtime routine, whatever. And so her kid was drinking out of her coffee cup, and another parent was like, oh, they have your coffee cup. She's like, oh no, it's fine. And she felt judged by this other person. And I'm just like, I mean, there's for sure got to be a difference between giving your opinion in a respectful manner
Mm-hmm.
and judging another parent. Like,
Right.
there for sure is a difference. Like, somebody could have went on there and been like, said almost a very similar statement to what they said, just not said it like a pretentious
Jerk.
yeah. Because that's what I feel like they did.
That's what the devil Michelle was saying. Just said jerk.
Yeah, let me take a picture of his playroom, see how abused he is.
The hours that I spend playing Mario with him.
Right? On the daily.
He is definitely not abused. So, but I feel like this kind of goes along the same lines of do you use corporal punishment as well? I feel like there's a line in the sand for those all of us parents that make our kids do chores and do corporal punishment, and the people who do not do any of it. So
yeah, if you can get away with not teaching your kids chores, I would love to see what they are like as grown-ups.
Exactly.
And maybe they turn out to be well adjusted and they pitch in and whatever. And if so, that's great. I mean,
well, no, it's true. It would be nice to see what happens, right? Like Joe desperately wanted a hamster. Ugh, like we need another animal in our house, right? And I was feeling mom guilt back in November because we had to hunker down for another 2 weeks because we were exposed to somebody that had COVID. And so I'm like, this poor kid is stuck in the house again for another 10 days. And he was just lonely and upset. So I told him, I said, on this day, we're going to go get you a hamster. But the requirement is, because it's his hamster, he has to help his dad in some way, shape, or form. Because I'm like, we're going to get it, but I'm not cleaning that cage because those things are gross.
Amen.
Right? So while his dad cleans, he either has to help his dad clean the cage or he has to play with Spot while the cage is being cleaned. And so, and maybe I would like to know, does somebody think that that's a chore or us abusing him? I mean, he wanted the hamster, but having something comes with
responsibilities.
Or responsibility comes with having special things.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same thing with even toys. If you want toys and you want this or you want that, responsibility comes with that. And maintaining and caring for that stuff is a responsibility. And maybe chore is the trigger word. I don't know. But I mean, responsibilities and chores are the same thing.
They're the same thing. It's a synonym. I mean, it would. Whatever.
I mean,
people be crazy.
I mean, I get it. I hate laundry. I mean, when I was young, I loved throwing all of the stuff in the wash. And I mean, in fact, one of my favorite mom moments with my mom is she worked at a motel in the laundry room, second shift. We would get to, as a special treat, go with her to work. And that's what we did with her. She abused us. She got someone to help her fold all those towels and washcloths. But I mean, that was fun to me. But now, say, hey,
you did so much laundry back in the day. You're just like, I'm tapped out.
Tagging off. Somebody else come do all this laundry. So I don't know. I just think that responsibilities, tasks, chores come with having things. You want a house, you have to take care of it. You have to maintain it. And whether you do it through play or whether you do it some other way, it has to be done. And like you said, kids that are made not shown to do these things, I'm very curious if they really do just magically one day pick up the broom and say,
Right?
I'm going to go sweep.
I just find that hard to believe.
I do too.
I mean, maybe.
I-
I don't think so, but maybe.
I'm going to say I have proof in my home that that's. He does do better. I love you, Daniel O'Brien. But that is not the case. So.
Oh, man.
But, well, I think that kind of concludes our little rant /
Right.
Figuring things out. I'm really not abusing or making my child my slave. I just teaching him responsibilities. So I guess we can move on to our recommendations for this week. What is your recommendation for this week, Melissa?
Okay, so my recommendation is like, I don't know, I guess it's kind of like not that outlandish, but I thought that it was worth mentioning. So my 7-year-old is like, he's a lot more artsy than my other kids. Part of it might just because he's older, but he's just always been like more creativity inclined, I guess. And because of that, he really likes coloring, but he doesn't really like coloring books, and he never has. So lots of times we'll just get him, blank pages just so he can kind of, express himself somehow rather than like whining about the coloring book. Well, he recently has really gotten into adult coloring books.
Okay.
And by adult coloring books, I mean the ones that are like hard.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by adult coloring books.
And I like
And
those too.
he loves them because they're like a challenge for him. And, he has all of his pencils and he takes color in the little dot, puts the color back, takes out a different color pencil, colors in the dot, puts it back. And it's just one of those things where it's like, I never would have thought to get him them because they're called adult coloring books and they kind of seem hard. But if you have, a creativity or artistically inclined kid, and I mean, it's worth trying. You can get them like fairly cheap now. I know they used to be super expensive, but they're really not anymore.
You can pick them up at the Dollar Tree store.
Yeah, and he loves them. Absolutely loves them.
That's amazing. Actually, I thought that on Tuesday when you guys were at our house and we were doing the video for some stuff, and when we had out the poster board and having them paint, he had like a whole scene that he was doing. I mean, and he was going to use up the whole poster board. And I was just like, you're my kind of kid. I'm going to trade you for 2 days. Just you and I can do arts and crafts all day long. Just sit and do it. So I think that's actually pretty cool. And it's a great suggestion. I love that. So my recommendation, I kind of picked up a book that would kind of not really support today's theme, but kind of go along with today's theme. Because Joe can be I know whenever people meet Joe, they're like, he's just the sweetest kid. He's such a nice kid. He's so respectful, blah, blah, blah.
He is, though.
He is so, I mean, we will battle it out. He's very strong. I mean, he's like me. Once he has it set in his head this is the way things are going to go. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And so, because I want to balance him I want him to have a strong will. I don't want him, as we've discussed in the past, to be run over. Yeah. But I also want him to be respectful as well. And so that's
my daily struggle.
Right. So I had asked for recommendations because what I wanted was a really good book that talked about raising your kids to be independent and a free thinker, but to also be respectful. And so a very good friend recommended Parenting by the Book. It's by John Rosemond. And it says biblical wisdom for raising your child. And it was such a good book. I mean, it's actually been a couple years. I could probably read it again because we're in different stages of our life with Joe. But just not only did it kind of affirm some of the thinking that I had on how I should be raising him, but it also kind of reinforced some new things that I've been learning. Like, it's not wrong if your kid hauls off and smacks you in the face. And FYI, I never taught him to smack. He just learned that himself, that it's okay to give corporal punishment and say that's not okay. It's not what you do, it's your attitude when you do it, or your emotional state. So like, are you super angry, or are you out of control when you do it? But this author really does a great job of giving biblical evidence of how you should be raising your kid. And not just biblical, but also good, sound, like practical use. And so I thought it was a really good book, and I would recommend it. Yes, if Joe smacks me.
And there's a study guide.
And there's a study guide in this one. Yes.
I do love parenting books that have like study guides or workbooks
that will help you think out after.
Yeah, because lots of times, like, they're so dense that like you need to process them and digest them. And if you're actually gonna like implement what's in those books,
yes,
you have to.
Like, I wish Triggers would have had a study guide, just because I actually with that book took and wrote out things like that. They said this, and this was my thoughts on that, just because, like you said, I had to process that, because that was a soup. If I'm going to do 2 recommendations, I know I've already recommended that book,
but it's dense. It's super dense, and there's a lot of stuff to process through. And it just helps when they have that workbook or study guide or whatever. So, all
right. So that's the end of our show today.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, of course, you can always find us on most social media platforms. That's Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube at Messy Bun Mamas Podcast. And then you can find us on Twitter at bun_podcast. And then you can also email us with suggestions or questions.
Yeah, you can.
At messybunmamapodcast@gmail.com. And you can also check out our website at www.messybunmamapodcast.com.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Have a great week.
I am Messy Bun Heads.
This is Messy Bun Mama's podcast.
This is Messy Poop.
Messy buns, you silly.